Coming now, come on. Time's up. Time's up.
Hello, everybody, and thank you guys for joining us today. My name is Victor Vrba, and I'm happy to be here with my good friend, Mr. Jeffrey Young. Jeff, how's it going today, buddy?
Great, man. How are you?
Not too bad, man. I noticed we have some new decor going on back there today. A little bit different than what we were rocking last week.
Yeah. So I got kicked out of a room, and the broadcast from new room didn't work so well, so we had to shift gears here at the last minute, and I'm in a room that was decorated for my 12-year-old daughter. So, believe it or not, the bunny keychain here is not mine. Nor are the pictures over here, but I'll take credit for some of the hockey stuff up here. But yeah, coming at you from a little different room than I planned to today.
That's all right, man. I love it, dude. I think the first thing that drew my attention right there was the bunny keychain. So
yeah.
I'm glad you put that to rest. I did think maybe that was yours for a second there, but understood. I got a daughter myself, so
the panda with headphones mouse pad. That is not mine, but I may steal it. It's got one of these nice little wrist gel things on it.
Those are nice, man. They are nice.
Yeah. So Vic, I think you had some technical fun over this past weekend. You decided to take the Windows 11 upgrade leap. How'd that work?
Yeah. You know what? People always say don't blindly jump into a pool unless you know how deep it is. So, yeah, needless to say, I'm one of those people. I was like, oh, look, a new update. Let's just throw that on there and see how it goes. I mean, how bad could it be?
How bad was it?
It was a good 3 or 4 hour experience of trying to get back to Windows 10. So let's put it that way. Actually, I'll be honest, reverting back to Windows 10 was actually really simple and fast. It took me easier to get back to Windows 10 than it did for the whole upgrade to Windows 11. So I will give Windows credit for that, allowing you to go back easy enough. Or give Microsoft credit for that. But, I was not a big fan, man. And I know there are good reasons for Windows 11. They put a lot of good enhancements in there from a resource perspective. Same thing from an audio-visual perspective. They've got a lot of nice enhancements to be able to help out machines from a resource, when you're doing a lot of audio-visual editing, things like that. I think coming from kind of the IT side of the world, it was a little bit more difficult for me to navigate. I'm not editing videos. I'm not taking advantage of some of the new features that were out there. It was there were some things out there that I probably should have read about before I jumped into Windows 11. We'll put it that way.
Sure.
And I think after I loaded it, after the damage was done, of course, I went out there and as everybody does, you love the Google. Things that are bad about Google or about Windows 11, and bam, right up there. Top 10 things that people don't like about Windows 11. Every single one of them, I was like, oh, that's all the stuff I don't like about Windows 11. And just to kind of point out some of them, and like I said, there's probably a lot of good things about Windows 11. I just did not give it the opportunity to look at all of them. I'll be honest, just because the way that I use Windows and what I use it for from a technical aspect, they basically rearranged. And just to kind of start off. So the taskbar, everybody loves a taskbar. You got to have a taskbar. People like taskbar at the top. They like it on the side. They like it on the bottom. You move it around and that's what you get used to. It becomes muscle memory when you're navigating your system. Well, you can't really move the taskbar anymore. So they took that flexibility away.
That's
so
nice.
Those folks that like it at the top, you can't put it on the top. Couple other things, one of the biggest ones, even, I can kind of get around not moving the taskbar, but one of the biggest ones that I had is I'm not a grouper. Some people like their windows all grouped, so if I've got IE open or IE, if I've got Edge open or if I've got Chrome open, it takes all of them, it puts them under one little group. That's not me. I can't do that. I've never been able to do that. I have a hell of a time trying to find something because I've always got like 20 windows open up. It's easier for me to see those kind of laid out. So really the clincher for me is you can't ungroup things. In other words, you've always got that one icon that's going to be all of your, Chrome. You've got, if I've got 10 different directories opened up, I've got one icon and then I got to hover over it. It's just, it's like a click nightmare to try to get to your stuff. So they took away the grouping too, which was a huge one for me. And that was the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back right there. I was like, man, I can't find anything. I'm trying to figure out how to, hack it to be able to get my stuff back. And probably about 3 hours into just trying to, changing registry entries and updating files to try to, figure out ways to get certain features and function that I'm used to back. I'm like, why am I doing this? And I was like, I shouldn't have to do this, like I get they're trying to, minimize the resources, and doing certain things from an operating system perspective does that, but don't force it down people's throats and make them do it and not be able to go back to something that they're used to. Because look, man, you've got millions upon millions of people that from a muscle memory perspective have always been doing this. And then to say, hey, here's this update and you can't do that anymore. To me, that was it. I was like, yeah, send me back.
Yeah, funny enough, I was looking to purchase a new computer for my wife, and this was probably about a month ago, and I kept looking, and everything was ships with Windows 11, and I'm going, oh man, so I'm like trying to find the kind of discounted ones, right, that are last year's model or whatever, just so I could have Windows 10 on it and didn't have to learn the Windows 11, because as all of us in IT related fields go, right, it's, oh, you work in IT, can you look at, and it's like I don't inherently know how to use that. That operating system has been out for a week. I didn't download that from the cloud yet, right? I don't know how to work that. So yeah, and that goes along with when you mentioned the taskbars in different places. My brother at one point set my mother up and put her computer into, I believe it was called tablet mode, and she asked me to fix something on it, and I'm going, I don't even know what this is, right? What happened here? Whereas, and I mean, again, so we're talking about a 80-ish-year-old woman. And she says, well, when I go to check my email, I click this and I click this and I click this. Well, now I can't change that, because now I become the teacher that has to say, okay, well, this is how you do it now. So every once in a while, whenever I have to look at her computer, I look at it, and it takes me a second to kind of get my bearings about what in the heck is going on this thing. And then I get to figure out how she turned off her Wi-Fi on the keyboard or whatever she did. So.
Yeah, and that was it spot on, like to a T. And and yeah, I mean, could I have adjusted and figured it out and figured out an easy way to do it? Probably, but the fact that I couldn't get those easy, quick searches. I mean, it was literally like I would have to double my efforts from what I was doing just to get to certain directories and things like that. And it was just some of it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Sure.
They kind of rearranged Explorer, a kind of new look and feel. Some of the things that you're used to seeing when you go into, at least for me, you go into Explorer, like, map drives, show file extensions, things like that. Things that I use and a lot of people that are in our profession use on a regular basis were now hidden. It was like 5 clicks in to be able to get to those configurations. And I was like, well, why it was right here. Why would you put it all the way over here? And I get, maybe people are in there clicking around, they accidentally hitting it, renaming extensions. I don't know. I don't know what the thought frame behind it was. All I know is when I Googled top 10 things you don't like about Windows 11, every single one of them was one of my top 10 things I didn't like about Windows 11. I was like, lesson learned, and I probably say this every time they put out a new major release, is I just got to Google that first, find out, what the major things are, because it's more than likely what everybody is experiencing. See if I can live with it or can't live with it. But yeah, it was quite the experience, man. Not not what I had hoped for, but like I said, I will give it up to Willie Gates and Microsoft over there. They made it very easy to be able to revert back. They sent a nice little survey after I went back. Why are you removing this? What is it that you did not like? So I was happy to fill it out, and as always, I'm always cordial. The same way, the way that we do it is we build stuff off of what our customers are asking for, what they're saying. So it is for me, from in a technical industry, it's important to kind of fill that out and kind of give as much information as possible. So I wrote Willie a novel. Let's see if he reads it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, and I think it was in the technical room that we had, right? I think some of the engineers and some of the other people here at Variphy were kind of probably chuckling as soon as you said, "I'm taking the leap." But so now, Vic, are we done with Victor rant?
We are done with Victor rant. That's all I got to say about Windows 11. I'm not saying don't do it. You may love it. For me, not so much. Try it on somebody else's machine and then give it a whirl on your own if you like it.
Awesome.
Time's up.
Jumping into some of the more collaboration related stuff. I was constantly kind of thinking about what we're going to talk about here, and one of the things, I was on a call this week with a customer, and they were mentioning all of the different tools that they had in their environment. Right, there was a third party wallboard application for their contact center. They mentioned having a third party phone control application, and I'm sitting back and I'm talking to him, and we're talking about consolidation of some of these services. And kind of that, and it's slightly overused, right? But the single pane of glass, and talking about the different aspects that Variphy had for, remote phone control for their as-builts that they were looking at. Even for their wallboard, right? They have the 65-inch monitor hanging in the call center, so everybody can kind of spin around and see what's going on. Vic, how much are you hearing, from clients about, third-party applications, being able to kind of consolidate them into, one vendor, and that kind of thing?
It's constant. To be honest with you, it is whether it's I've got wallboard that is a third-party wallboard, and I'm doing change management through somebody else, and now I need CDR or DN DID management. I was just on with a customer this week where they've got, and I can't remember the name of the software, but they're using another third-party software for DID management, DN DID management, and it's more of a provisioning software. And they were blunt. They're just like, the problem we have is we've got this great, expensive provisioning software. Nobody knows how to set it up. It takes a work of art to set it up because it doesn't just integrate with Call Manager, which is, long story short, which is really what they needed. It integrates with their Active Directory. It integrates with third-party, other systems. Problem with that is it just takes, it took them like a work of art. So they're like, we've never even got it set up. We've had it for like 2 years. We've never got it set up. Sure. You guys have what we need. We need the integration with Call Manager. So when our technicians go out there to set up a new site, to add new DNs, to see what's available, they can quickly do it. Where, we've got this other software that's basically just sitting out there, holding down paper because nobody's ever really had the resources or the time to set it up and integrate with all the other systems. So it's kind of a constant thing with just different parts of the application that we hear that. You hit on a great point, which is wallboard. I mean, that's probably one of the bigger ones that we hear regularly is, we've got a third-party wallboard, like, I don't know, it's free, or, we only paid a couple bucks for it, and, like, it doesn't really do anything, it'll show us agents. We can't change it. We can't manipulate it. And this is an opportunity we're going in on maybe a CDR or something like that. So, we're more focused on CDR, and then they'll mention that they've got this wallboard for contact center, and they'll see it through our demonstration, and they're like, oh, well, like you said, it is kind of cliche, but if we could get all that under one, we're willing to pay a couple dollars for it to give our agents what they need rather than what we purchased 5 years ago that just happens to keep working as long as nobody touches it.
Yeah, and I think we see that with a lot of technical related stuff. When I was working on the partner or reseller side, we'd go in and we'd pitch a conferencing solution, right? And when we would start talking to the IT staff, they'd say, "Well, we only need 50 licenses of this," and of course, what do you mean you have 300 people? And well, the accounting department uses this, and the HR department, they went out and bought this because they like it, and it kind of comes down to who manages that. Hopefully, some of the IT administrators and engineers listening to this are shaking their head, because I think it happens across a whole lot of organizations that someone wakes up and goes, "Hey, I was on XYZ conferencing platform and I really liked it, and I'm going to buy that for my 5 people. It's inexpensive."
Yep.
And then that lands in the organization, and the IT manager, director, admin goes, "Wait a minute, where did that come from? Who's handling that? Who's supporting that?"
You are.
Yeah, you are, exactly. Unfortunately, I think it kind of rolls that way the majority of the time. But again, kind of circling back, it's when we're looking at collaboration related tools, along with our analytics, right? We can do the phone control, we can do your as built. And kind of pulling that all into one single web page to be able to go to and manage devices, manage your environment, be able to, see what's available on the DN and DID management, right? Get the spreadsheet out of there, because we know that's what everybody's using. Get that guy out of there, because as soon as somebody doesn't update it, then it's not valid anymore. And I've seen that a whole lot of times. But consolidating that stuff all under kind of that Variphy umbrella seems to be a benefit to a lot of our customers.
Well, it is, and it's a huge resource benefit from the perspective of time management. Because you know what, if you're having to maintain a server that's running this application, and you're having to maintain a different server that's running this application, and then you're having to maintain another server that's running this application, that's got that trickle down effect. Because when one of them breaks, well, now you've got the IT guy or the telecom guy or whoever's supposed to be managing that has to take time to figure out what broke on this guy's system. Look, maybe they loaded Windows 11, and now it doesn't work. Well, you know what? It's very possible. But you know what? I mean, that's the thing is, maybe they did load something on their own machine that's causing it to not work from their end. So now when you've got all those platforms, it takes all that much more time to have to be able to maintain all those platforms. Where when you do bring it under a single pane of glass, it's going to make it so much easier to maintain, because you're not worried about, okay, well, this guy can't do this for this application, but this application over here needs an update, where this one over here doesn't need an update, but this guy updated his machine and now it doesn't work. You don't have any of that worry when it's all under one particular application. And that's really one of the benefits of that. Besides being able to really just get everything under one umbrella, one company that you're having to fork out money to, now you're not sending money all over the place to be able to manage different systems. You're paying one particular company. The resource that goes into being able to maintain all those other things is really where the problem lies. And we see that time and time again, where, we do go into them. They're like, oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, accounting department's using this. I mean, I think a perfect example is, and this always sticks in my head, is, and this was probably many years ago, I was working with a customer, and, they said, and we were talking about chat analytics and things like that. And, it's just kind of normal conversation. And I was like, well, what do you guys use? They're like, And I was like, well, what do you guys got? They're like, well, this group over here uses Slack because they liked it. This group over here uses MS Teams. We, as the IT group, we're using Cisco. So at the time, we were using WebEx Teams. And they're like, but we can't get those guys to shift because, who moved their cheese? And these guys like Slack, so they're going to stick with that. And they're just like, it's a maintenance nightmare. And that's, our product out of the picture. That's, you hear that over and over again in organizations. So You start to see the growth of these companies that are starting to do more and integrate themselves into different parts of the application, because it just makes sense from a development perspective, but also from a customer's perspective, to not have to worry about all these little pieces that are floating around all over the place that could potentially break when you've got one application that kind of manages it all. But yeah, it's a rampant problem out there.
Yeah. So the key takeaway here for the administrators and managers are we're here to help you consolidate. We support you. We know the pain. We've both been there.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, no, but joking aside, yeah, it's one of those things that, again, as I think about kind of what we're going to talk about, and when we get together, is, we were on a call and he's outlining, 3 or 4 different vendor applications that they're using, and just kind of said, hey, we can kind of do all that. Let's get a demo of, feature A, B, and C, and see how they work in your environment. So.
Yeah, and we definitely see a lot of that, and we'll go into with a customer, we're working with an existing customer, they'll maybe have seen a webinar or something, and they'll be like, hey, we saw that you guys have this, we're using this, how do you guys compare? And sometimes it's apples to apples, sometimes it's apples to oranges, depending on what
Sure.
it is that they're looking for. We will always be the first one to tell you it's apples to oranges. The last thing that anybody ever wants is to be able to be like, oh yeah, we can replace that, to get in there and find out you can't do anything that other system was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty common thing that, you'll be talking about one thing, they'll be like, well, we saw this, we heard you guys have that. Tell us a little bit about it because we're using this, and if we can get everything consolidated, it's less work I got to do over here to have to maintain 2 different systems now. So yeah, it's definitely a pretty common thing that we ask that we hear from our customers on.
Time's up.
Well, thank you for joining us this week on the podcast. As always, if there's anything that you want us to discuss, throw it out there on Planet. It can be Variphy related. We're more than happy to talk about that, or anything IT related. We can talk sports. Some teams I may not comment on, just to not offend anybody. But really anything, we'll get into it. And lastly, check out the What's New section on Planet. We have a 12.4 release coming out soon, and we are throwing some teasers out kind of weekly about some of those new features. So make sure to check out that What's New section here on Planet when you're done viewing this. And thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Take it easy. Good night, all.
Time's up.